Welcome to real history,
You
where the
weren't
truth is
supposed
bloodier
to
than
survive
fiction.
history.
The marble is warm beneath your knees. You're not praying. You're performing for a city built on cruelty and wrapped in silk. Overhead, the Roman sun scalds the roofs of Nero's palace, a twisted theater of golden ceilings and secret chambers where pleasure is just another method of execution. You don't yet know your name will be stolen, that your body will be reshaped without consent, that emperors will hold your hand while you smile through agony, because Rome applauds pain as long as it's dressed well. You are standing at the edge of a story Rome never wanted written, not about power but submission, not about glory but erasure. Before we peel back the skin of history, like and subscribe, but only if you dare. And tell us, viewer, what time is it where you are? And do you feel safe? Now take a breath, dim the lights, and let's descend into tonight's true story. You're not special. You're not born noble. You are a slave boy in a Rome that consumes bodies like fuel. The name Sporus doesn't exist yet. You don't even belong to yourself. You belong to the empire, to a master, then one day to the most dangerous man in the world. Nero sees you. It's not your fault. You're beautiful, tragic, young. You resemble someone he murdered his wife, Poppaea Sabina, whose skull he crushed with a kick. Historians still argue whether it was rage or grief, or both. But they agree on one thing: Nero missed her. And when he saw you, something in his diseased love rekindled. You don't get to understand, not yet. You're summoned to the palace. The halls are too quiet. There's wine on every table and no food, just eyes. You're given new clothes, feminine silks that don't fit, and silence thicker than perfume. Then the door closes. The next chapter won't have a choice. You are born with nothing but skin and silence. In the eyes of Rome, you are a tool, another nameless body in the machinery of empire. You clean floors, serve food, disappear when told. Your voice is not required, your thoughts even less so. You learn to stay quiet. Obedience is safety, or so you think. You're a child when Nero starts watching. He doesn't ask. He doesn't explain. You're taken from your quarters without warning. In the moonlit corridors of the imperial palace, every step echoes like a countdown. You pass mosaics of gods who never saved anyone, and statues of heroes who slaughtered their way into marble. No one tells you where you're going. That silence becomes your fate. Then you're in a room with velvet drapes and a scent that's half incense, half blood. Nero enters, robes loose hair wild. There's something feral in his eyes. He studies you like an artist before the first brushstroke, except what he's painting is your body. His face doesn't smile. It hunts. Beautiful, he murmurs. Too beautiful to waste. You're offered fruit. You don't eat. You're handed perfume. You don't know where to dab it. And all the while, Nero watches, not like a man admiring, but a man measuring, because to him you're not a person. You're a blank canvas, a replacement, a second chance to resurrect the wife he destroyed. That night you're sent away. No words. But your handlers look at you differently now, as if you've been marked. Not chosen, claimed. Historians can't agree when the decision was made. Some say it happened that very night. Others claim Nero plotted it for weeks. But no one denies what comes next. A procedure that'll make you into something not quite man, not quite woman, and never whole again. You're about to be reshaped into someone else's ghost. There's no ceremony, no prayers, no explanation. You're taken to a small chamber, lit by oil lamps and anxiety. The men around you don't speak your language. Their hands are steady. Their blades are clean. You're told to lie down, not asked. The table is cold, the straps tighter than needed. This isn't healing. It's transformation by force. You've heard whispers about this. A process used for choir boys, favored slaves, and pets of the elite. But this isn't about voice. It's about possession. Nero doesn't want your sound. He wants your shape. Your essence erased so he can pour another's into the mold. There's no anesthetic, just cloth in your mouth. The knife goes in. You scream until your throat breaks. Then you stop. Not because the pain ends, but because your body gives up on sound. They call it castration, but that word is too clean. What they take from you isn't just flesh. It's the map of your future, rewritten with absence. When it's over, they leave you alone in a cot. You bleed, you tremble, you dream of nothing because dreams require hope, and you're empty now. A body modified to match a dead woman. Her name, Poppaea. Her beauty, legendary. Her end, brutal. You remember the stories, how she begged for mercy, how Nero wept afterward, how he swore she was irreplaceable. Until now, the palace nurses your wounds like one tends a garden, not with care, but with expectation. Every day they whisper about your posture, your hair, your voice. You're fed expensive figs, but never asked what you want. Your body is no longer yours. It belongs to a memory. You aren't a lover. You aren't a citizen. You're a symbol of guilt, too twisted to name. Some historians claim you went willingly, that you were grateful, but look closer and you'll see the cracks in that fantasy. Willingness doesn't need straps. Gratitude doesn't require a blade. From this day on, your name is Sporus, but Nero will call you Poppaea. They dress you in ivory silk, not a toga, a bridal gown. You stand in the center of a colonnaded hall while the Emperor of Rome slips a gold ring onto your trembling hand. The crowd watches not in shock, but in fascination. No one speaks. No one dares to. Because when Nero stages a wedding, even to a castrated boy, the only thing more dangerous than laughter is honesty. You are not Poppaea, and yet tonight you must become her. The scent of roses floods the air, masking the stink of power. Trumpets play. Nero grins. His eyes shine with that same ecstatic madness he wore when watching Rome burn. You've seen it before, the vacant joy of a man whose guilt has curdled into performance. He kisses you in front of everyone, the senators, the soldiers, the slaves. They all pretend it's a celebration, but their silence is a kind of scream. You're a puppet in a love story stitched from rot. The wedding is not a union. It's an apology no one asked for, scripted in blood and gold. You don't cry. You've learned not to. Nero whispers to you that you're his redemption, that with you he has made things right. But every time he says her name, Poppaea, you feel yourself hollowing out. A title laid over skin that no longer fits. Historians debate the purpose of the wedding. Some say it was theater, others a delusion. A few dare to suggest it was Nero's final descent into madness. But they all agree this wasn't love. It was guilt given a crown and forced to smile. That night the crowd disperses, the flowers wither, and Nero takes you to the bedchamber where Poppaea once lay. You are told to sleep beside the same man who murdered the one he now pretends you are. You're not his wife. You're not even a person. You're the corpse of an empire's conscience dressed in satin and made to pretend you don't remember the knife. The wedding ends. The nightmare doesn't. Every morning begins with the same lie: you are cherished. You wake beside a man who hums lullabies to ghosts. He touches your face like it's porcelain, but his hands have broken things more precious. Nero smiles as if love can be stitched from fragments and forced onto you like a second skin. He calls you Poppaea now, always Poppaea. He makes servants bow to you under that name. You sit beside him at feasts, while musicians sing about the emperor's eternal bride. But behind every toast and every applause, there's a silence too loud to ignore. They all know, they all watch, they all laugh behind closed doors. You walk through the marble halls in veils that cost more than villages. On your fingers, sapphires dig into flesh, never meant to carry them. Children stare. Old men avert their eyes. Women whisper. You are not the empress, you're the mockery of one. When Nero parades you in public, it's a grotesque act of imperial theater. He demands admiration from the crowd, but admiration smells like fear. They cheer not for love, but survival. You smile, because you have to, because the only thing more dangerous than being Nero's wife is failing to convince him that you are. And in private, you are not touched, you are studied. Nero kisses you like a relic, like a cursed thing he's trying to resurrect. But you see the tremble in his fingers, the desperation behind his eyes. He doesn't love you. He's punishing himself, using your face as the knife. Historians differ on what you felt. Was it fear, submission, or some twisted version of pity? Some say you began to believe it yourself, that you really were her, that you had to be, or go mad. But deep down, you know the truth. You're not Poppaea. You're the echo of a murder wearing a dress. And every night when he closes his eyes, he dreams not of you, but of the woman he destroyed. And in that dream, she's still beautiful. The night Rome burns, Nero doesn't flee. He performs. From the balcony of his palace, he watches the city twist in flames, a golden lyre cradled in his arms. You stand behind him, draped in bridal silk, while smoke paints the heavens with ash. People scream, roofs collapse, and still Nero sings verses from the sack of Troy, because he thinks this is art. He doesn't see ruin. He sees a blank canvas. You're part of the performance now. The Empress of Ashes. They dress you in pale robes, so you'll stand out against the black sky. Beside him, you must smile, while the people's homes vanish in red and orange agony. Do you see it? Poppaea, he whispers. A rebirth. You nod. You always nod. What choice do you have? Later the blame comes. Nero needs a scapegoat, and the Christians are chosen. Executions follow crucifixions, torn bodies, human torches in the imperial gardens. You're there for all of it, standing beside him like a queen of cruelty, though you've ordered nothing spoken, nothing. Still, your silence damns you. They begin to fear you, the castrated boy who replaced a corpse, the one who sleeps beside madness and never runs. Some think you're a sorcerer. Others think you're possessed. One chronicler even claims you whispered ideas into Nero's ear, that you were the real evil behind the throne. Historians reject that. They know you were a mirror, a reflection Nero demanded, shaped and polished, until you gleamed with his delusions. But mirrors can't break themselves. They only shatter when someone grows tired of their own reflection. The city rebuilds. Nero celebrates with golden banquets and a new architectural plan, Neropolis, a city worthy of a god. You attend every announcement. You sit in silence as architects bow, and poets weep, and slaves dig the graves of the forgotten. In every room you're called Poppaea. But Rome no longer believes the lie. They just fear what would happen if they stopped pretending. It ends faster than you expect. Whispers crawl through the marble walls. The Senate has turned. The Praetorian Guard, once Nero's shield, now sharpens their swords for his back. Governors rebel. Generals declare themselves emperor. Rome smells weakness and blood follows. Nero stops singing. Suddenly you're no longer the adored wife. He barely looks at you. His attention flickers like a dying flame, not in love, but in terror. The palace, once a theater, becomes a tomb of locked doors and paranoid footsteps. He clutches you in the night, shaking. "They want to kill me," he mutters. "They'll destroy everything, even you, my Poppaea. But you're not her, and he finally knows it. One dawn the servants vanish. The corridors echo empty. Nero flees not like an emperor, but like a frightened child, dragging a handful of loyal slaves, and one last possession. You. He doesn't ask if you'll follow. He assumes. And why wouldn't he? He crafted you to obey. He gave you a name, a body, a place at his side. Even now, as he hides in a friend's villa outside the city, he demands you be silent. Not because he trusts you, but because your voice reminds him of everything he destroyed. The Senate declares him a public enemy. They want him captured alive, not for justice, but for humiliation. Rumors swirl they'll strip him naked, chain him, drag him through the streets, then strangle him on the Gemonian stairs while Rome watches. And what about you? You don't ask. No one does. You're not a person in this plan, just baggage. A living relic of Nero's madness. One night he receives word the soldiers are coming. He panics, paces, cries. No one will kill him. He wails he'll die on his terms. Then he looks at you. For a moment you think he might beg, or apologize. But instead he reaches for the dagger. "Help me," he pleads. "Do it, Poppaea." And in that moment you understand, even in death, he still can't let you be anything but a reflection of his guilt. You don't help. You watch. After Nero dies, the silence doesn't set you free. It just resets the nightmare. You are captured not by rebels, not by the mob, but by opportunists. General Nymphidius Sabinus, commander of the Praetorian Guard, claims you like spoils from a conquered city. He doesn't see a person. He sees theater, spectacle, a living joke carved from an emperor's shame. He parades you as a trophy, the empress of a dead tyrant, castrated, dressed in white, called Poppaea still, but now with smirks, not reverence. In Nero's palace you were a hallucination. In Sabinus's house you're a punchline. He calls you his wife, too. But there's no wedding this time, only parties, wine, and whispers. You stand beside him as he mocks. Nero's memory laughs about the flame-lit wedding, mimics your voice. Guests jeer. Some reach to touch your silk. Others bet on what's left of you under the robes. You are silent through it all, because speaking would only add flavor to the joke. Sabinus doesn't love you. He uses you, just like Nero did, only without the illusion. At least Nero believed in his fantasy. Sabinus enjoys destroying yours. Historians rarely mention this chapter. It's too uncomfortable. They prefer to say you accompanied the general as if you were a favored pet or a traveling relic. But surviving records hint at the cruelty. The mock banquets, the toasts to the widow queen, the way Sabinus made you reenact your wedding night in front of guests, complete with a bridal veil and ceremonial vows. It wasn't enough to erase you. They had to laugh while doing it. Eventually Sabinus overreaches. He declares himself emperor. The legions don't accept it. He's butchered before he can take the throne. And you survive again, passed on. Another possession for another master. No freedom, no name of your own. Just the ghost of a woman you never were sewn into your skin, like a scar. You start to understand in Rome, survival doesn't mean escape. It means repetition, and it's only going to get worse. There is no bottom in Rome, only stages, and now you are the joke. Otho is dead, Vitellius is emperor, a new man with new appetites, and when he hears about you, the empress of a dead tyrant, the ghost bride of Nero, he knows exactly what to do. He doesn't execute you. He doesn't exile you. That would be too easy. Instead, he arranges a performance. The invitation spreads across Rome's elite. A theatrical reenactment of Nero's mad wedding, performed by the original bride. The stage is set. The guests arrive, the torches burn into the dusk, and you are summoned not as Sporus, not even as Poppaea, but as a parody. You are dressed again in wedding white, not silk this time, but cheap cloth, dyed ivory, to make your humiliation brighter under the torchlight. The veil is too long, the makeup too thick. You look like a corpse, dragged from the river and powdered for dinner. The laughter begins before you speak. They assign you a groom, a public executioner, dressed as Nero, wearing a laurel crown and grinning through rotten teeth. The crowd howls. Someone throws wine at your feet. Another shouts, "Kiss her, she won't bite anymore." You stand motionless, ever's breath, a betrayal of your dignity. The ceremony is short, just long enough to remind the audience what you are: not royal, not sacred, not human. A eunuch in drag, a broken tool made to serve Nero's madness, and now recycled for Rome's amusement. Historians call this a theatrical entertainment, a satire. They downplay it as if mocking trauma somehow redeems it. But the truth is colder. This was a public unraveling of a soul, a reminder to everyone in the room that power leaves corpses, not heirs. After the mock wedding, you are led back to your quarters. No applause, no congratulations, just echoes. The laughter doesn't fade. It echoes in your ribs, settles behind your eyes. You understand now you were never meant to survive. You were meant to linger as a living punishment, not just for Nero, but for anyone who dares love, too strangely grieve too loudly, exist too ambiguously. The mock bride leaves the stage, but the stain doesn't wash off. Word count 449. There's no dagger waiting under your pillow. No heroic end on the battlefield. Just silence. You slip through the streets of Rome like a shadow, no longer followed by whispers, only by exhaustion. You've been a wife, a widow, a relic, a clown. The empire has used you for pleasure, grief, revenge, and laughter. Now it wants nothing more from you. You're barely 30. They still call you Sporus, but even that name sounds foreign now, a joke layered over a wound. You were renamed so many times you've forgotten the first one, the one whispered by your mother if she ever had the chance. You know what's coming. Another emperor will rise. Another performance will be expected. Someone else will remember the empress bride and summon you not for cruelty this time, but for nostalgia. Because in Rome, suffering becomes legend, and legends are useful props for men in power. So you make a choice. No ceremony, no note, just poison. The same kind Nero once flirted with before asking someone else to drive the knife. You don't have a servant. No senator will weep. There's no marble tomb waiting. You die quietly with the taste of metal on your tongue and your hands folded as if in prayer, though you know no god would recognize you now. Some sources claim you killed yourself before Vitellius could throw you to the arena. Others say it was shame, loneliness, or the horror of what would come next. The truth. You looked at your life and saw only stages. They used you as a wife, then discarded you like a myth out of fashion. Every part of you had been stolen, carved, renamed, and paraded until you no longer knew if you had ever been real. So you took one thing back, your ending. Historians rarely linger here. They prefer the emperors, their deaths, their madness, their marble legacies. But your story ends not with a scream or a sword or applause, just a soft breath, a refusal. The final act you wrote yourself. No grave bears your name. The empress without a kingdom, the bride without a body, the boy who became Rome's most pitied echo, erased not by fire, but by ridicule. When the poets write of Nero, they mention you as an aside, a curiosity, the boy-woman, the eunuch-wife. They marvel not at your suffering, but at the spectacle of it, a footnote in the orgy of imperial madness. Some scholars defend your memory. They call you a tragic victim of power, a symbol of what Rome could do to a soul. Others dismiss you entirely, reducing your agony to absurdity, as if the blade that cut you was a joke, not a sentence. But you are neither satire nor saint. You are a child carved into a fantasy, a shadow dragged through every hall of power, redressed, renamed and replayed, until your reflection no longer responded to the mirror. Rome does not mourn you. The empire that crowned you with mockery forgets its jest once the laughter fades. Your silks rot. Your name slips from the ledgers. The senators move on to new wars, new lovers, new grotesqueries. They remember Nero's fire. They remember the Christians' crucifixions. But you're too quiet to survive the retelling. Your death wasn't noble. It wasn't filmed in marble or echoed in song. It was the final page of a book no one wanted to admit they read. Because remembering you means facing what Rome allowed itself to become, a place where grief was punished, where love was weaponized, where identity was something to be reshaped and ridiculed. In the end, Sporus, if that name was ever yours, you are not a person to them. You are a punishment, a whisper, a living contradiction that made them uncomfortable, so they laughed until you disappeared. But the silence afterward, that belonged to you. Let it haunt them